Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, mysteriously disappeared at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. The Cecil Hotel is infamous for its dark history, from suicides to murders. The case that many people are afraid to mention is thought to be associated with ghost stories. The last image of her was captured by a camera. Was she communicating with an invisible supernatural force, or was she hiding from someone, or something that couldn't be seen in the video footage? Let's explore the details of this spiritual and mysterious case together, the case of Elisa Lam. Mysterious disappearance. On January 26, 2013, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, arrived in Los Angeles, USA for a vacation. She took the Amtrak train from San Diego and planned to go to Santa Cruz on a solo trip around the west coast of the United States. This was considered a relaxing trip after a stressful study period at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. Despite not having the support of her parents, Lam decided to go alone to keep her family from worrying. Lam promised to call home every day to report that she was safe. But before she could set off for the next destination, Elisa disappeared. January 31st. That was the day she was supposed to check out of the Cecil Hotel and move on. She was last seen at the Cecil Hotel, a hotel with a dark history of many suicides and murders. Her parents, Mr. David and Mrs. Yina Lam, reported Lam's disappearance to the police. The items she carried included a wallet and identification papers. A Los Angeles police bulletin about Lam's disappearance mentioned that she spoke English and Cantonese, traveled by public transportation, may have been mildly depressed, and had been to Santa Cruz, California. The city police searched the hotel, but still could not find her. To search for Elisa Lam, the Los Angeles Police Department released her last images from surveillance cameras in the Cecil Hotel elevator on the day she disappeared. Before her death, Lam was wearing a red hoodie. This video has become famous and has caused much controversy. That's also when things started getting strange. In the video, Elisa Lam had strange and inexplicable actions. She stepped into the elevator and pressed multiple buttons at once. The elevator car did not move, and the door remained open. She seemed to be talking to someone who could not be seen in the video. Although the video did not record anyone else in the elevator besides her at that time. She also seemed to be avoiding someone or something. She entered and exited the elevator multiple times and had very unusual expressions. Finally, Lam walked out into the left corridor and disappeared. The elevator door closed. This video has created many theories about Elisa Lam's death. Some people believe that she may have encountered a supernatural entity or been haunted. Others believe that she may have been followed by a murderer or kidnapper. The police still cannot determine why Lam was there, whether it was an accident, a suicide act, or if she was harmed by someone. Chilling details that cannot be explained. 2 weeks after Elisa Lam disappeared, guests staying at the Cecil Hotel began to complain about the water in their rooms running too weakly and being brown. Early in the morning of February 19, 2013, a hotel employee named Santiago Lopez was assigned to check the 4 water tanks on the hotel roof. Lopez climbed onto the roof, and as he approached the tank, he noticed that the lid of one of the tanks had been opened. In confusion, Lopez decided to climb up to check. Looking down, he couldn't believe his eyes. A young woman's body was floating face down in the water in the tank. That was Elisa Lam. The horrifying sight before Lopez's eyes made him unable to believe what he was seeing. The police investigating Elisa Lam's case faced many difficulties when trying to explain the strange occurrences. One of them is how Lam could get onto the hotel's 15th floor rooftop without being detected by the alarm system. The Cecil Hotel's alarm system is designed to prevent people from accessing unauthorized areas, such as rooftops. If someone tries to access these areas, the system will automatically detect and notify security personnel. However, in Lam's case, no alarms were triggered. Maintenance staff at the hotel, who are familiar with the alarm system, have said that it is impossible for Lam to have accessed the rooftop without triggering an alarm. According to a hotel employee, if Lam got onto the rooftop, she would have had a hard time climbing into the water tank alone, and the victim would have had to exert all her strength to open the metal lid and then jump inside. This has raised many unanswered questions. The investigators had to face many difficult questions when trying to find out about Lam's death. The coroner concluded that Lam died from drowning. At the time of her death, the water level in the tank was only about 1.6 meters. This leads to speculation as to how a healthy woman could drown in such a small amount of water. They had to consider every possibility, from Lam possibly finding a way around the alarm system, to the possibility that someone helped her. Another strange detail surrounding Elisa Lam's mysterious death is that police service dogs were brought up to the rooftop area to check during the search for the missing tourist, but did not detect the victim. This has raised many unanswered questions. Could it be that Elisa died after service dogs checked this area? Or could there be some reason why service dogs did not detect her scent? When autopsy results were released, they raised even more questions. The report stated that Elisa Lam's body floated in a water tank with clothes she wore in an elevator. The body had decomposed after nearly 2 weeks she went missing. There were no signs of violence. She had taken some medications, including those used for treating bipolar disorder. However, there were no signs of alcohol, stimulants, or banned substances in her body. This rules out the possibility that Elisa committed suicide using drugs or alcohol. Elisa Lam's case hit a dead end when police could not explain how this young woman died. A series of theories. The death of Elisa Lam became famous, largely because it occurred at the Cecil Hotel, a place with a dark history and full of horrifying stories. The history of the Cecil Hotel is associated with the most horrific deaths, once being a refuge for many serial killers, and also a place where suicides often occur. Therefore, when this murder case occurred, many people believed that it could be related to supernatural forces or a deadly curse here. In fact, the Cecil Hotel is known as the last place where the victim in the Black Dahlia case, one of the most famous serial murder cases in history, lived. These stories and horrific events have painted a grim and scary picture of the Cecil Hotel, and Elisa Lam's death is just part of a series of tragedies here. Another theory suggests that Elisa Lam may have committed suicide due to psychological pressure. Those who have read her blog have found signs that she may be suffering from depression or some kind of mental disorder. However, her traveling and buying many gifts for her family do not match suicidal intentions. The most supported theory is that Elisa might have climbed onto the rooftop to take pictures of the city. She might have accidentally pressed the elevator door hold button, causing the door not to close, and she panicked. She might have decided to use the fire escape to walk up to the roof. When she got to the roof, she might have realized that the water tank was a good spot to take panoramic photos of Los Angeles. She might have climbed onto the water tank, but unfortunately, she slipped and fell into the water tank with an open lid. She might have dropped her phone and couldn't get out of the water tank, leading to her tragic death. Although the theory about Elisa Lam climbing into the water tank herself is plausible, there are still many unclear points, especially Elisa's mobile phone has never been found, even though she had it when she disappeared. A decade has passed, but the story of the mysterious death of 21-year-old tourist Elisa Lam remains a big question. Even after 10 years, there is still no satisfactory answer to Elisa Lam's death. This case remains a mystery. If you have any information about the case, please comment below to let me know.